Hello, everybody. Welcome to the second episode of Seafaring Matters podcast series, dubbed as Oceancast 002. Seafaring is a safety-critical industry, meaning a single mistake can be catastrophic. Therefore, we cannot afford one. Today, we talk with an industry expert on what we can do to minimize, if not avoid, an error. From Australia, let's all welcome, for the second time, Captain Roger Arcega. Captain Roger, welcome to the podcast.
Yes, Captain Al, thank you for inviting me once again. And good day to all Seafaring Matters listeners, viewers. Good day to everyone.
All right, Captain Roger. Yes, it's always been a pleasure having you on the podcast today. I'm sure you have this significant view to share with our audience. This is about risk assessment. So can you please tell us what is risk assessment?
That's a good question. The risk assessment is a very important tool that we use on board. Anyway, to answer your question, risk assessment is simply the process of identifying potential hazards. When we say hazard, these are things that has the potential to harm or kill people. Now, evaluating the likelihood or possibilities and the severity, meaning how badly one would get hurt if it happens from these hazards. So we must evaluate them properly. It is an essential tool for protecting workers and ensuring a safe working environment. So by conducting a risk assessment, employees can identify hazards and take steps to really eliminate or mitigate them, thereby reducing the risk of accidents and injuries.
All right, so it sounds like it is a structured process of identifying hazard and promoting safety. So it is like a competence everybody should have on board. Am I correct?
Yeah, it's more on hazard hunting. So the more hazards you found, the better, and you can control them, the better.
Okay, so what are the steps involved in conducting a risk assessment?
Well, the very first step really in conducting a risk assessment is, again, identify potential hazards. Find these hazards in the workplace. This can be done through observation or review of the incident reports. Something happened in the past, working the same job you're doing, or consultation with other workers. Once the hazards have been identified, the next step is to evaluate the level of, risk associated with each hazard. So if this involves assessing the likelihood of harm, the possibility that one will get hurt, and then the potential of severity, how bad or how severe, the person will get hurt. Then finally, based on the results of the risk assessment, employees can take steps to eliminate or mitigate the identified hazard.
So Captain Roger is an expert in this area. We're really talking to the right person now, and we are giving our audience, Captain Roger, a very clear overview of how to do risk assessment and what and when. Okay, so next question is, what are some common hazards that may be identified during risk assessment?
Hazards that may be identified during risk assessment can really vary depending on the type of workplace where you work and the task being performed, what you're doing there. So some common hazards include what can slip you, what can trip you, and what can make you fall. So also exposure to hazardous chemicals or materials, electrical hazards, and some ergonomic hazards such as repetitive motion injuries. So it is important to conduct a thorough risk assessment, task-based risk assessment, to identify all potential hazards and take steps to eliminate them.
Okay, so clear enough. And what is the role of employees in the risk assessment?
Well, employees play an important role in the risk assessment process because they are often the ones who are most familiar with the hazards in their workplace and can provide valuable input on ways to eliminate or mitigate these hazards. The employer should involve employees in the risk assessment process by soliciting their input, providing training on hazard identification and controlling them, and encouraging them to report any hazards or safety concerns that they identify.
Okay, so for most of the companies now, what do you think is the level of understanding of the general or the average crew on board when it comes to hazard identification or risk assessment in general? Are they proficient enough to do this?
Well, risk assessment is truly subjective document because it depends on the workers. But it's just a matter of finding the right or correct hazard and controlling them so that it will not hurt the people. It requires training and help them identify hazard. I think that's what is the issue most of the time.
Well, the risk is everywhere, and on board a ship, in the industry where we work, it is really a safety critical, and it is a must for everybody on board to know and to be competent in conducting a risk assessment. So one last question, Captain Roger. What are some of the benefits of conducting a risk assessment?
There are many benefits to conducting a risk assessment. That includes like reducing the risk of accidents and injuries in the workplace, and probably improving the safety culture of the organization, and demonstrating a commitment to worker safety, and also reducing the risk of costly fines or legal action resulting from safety violations. There are severe consequences in this. And also, lastly, improving productivity by reducing the risk of downtime due to accidents or injuries. Those are some of the benefits of conducting this assessment, as far as I'm concerned.
So there you go, Seafaring Matters, coming from the expert himself, Captain Roger Arcega. Captain Roger, thanks very much for yet again another useful content. Seafaring Matters, I hope that you get your takeaway and that you will apply it on board and even in your personal life. We'd love to answer your questions, so I'm encouraging you to please feel free and write it down in the comment section below. You can also request for more useful topics we can talk about. Please follow us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and you may want to check out our website for more useful contents. So Captain Roger, until next time, thanks very much.
Yeah, Captain Lau, thank you very much for guesting me here in your podcast. Thank you.
It's always a pleasure. Yes.
Glad to help. Glad to help.
Yes, next time again. And Seafaring Matters, please make your life worthwhile and to the world before you. Be relevant. Cheers!